So the next program, what we'll be doing would be morely towards now string, because ideally what we have done until now is like more towards like numbers and working on those numbers and utilizing those numbers to do some kind of operations. Now what we'll be doing is we'll write some programs which will involve like processing strings. So for example, let's say I have names list, right? Like which contains names in it. Now names can be like apples, then oranges, then pears, like these kind of fruit names are there, for example. And what we need to do is we need to find out. So what we need to do is we need to find out names of the fruits which starts with a specific character. So that specific character will be given as part of input. Now let's say I say like I want to find out all the fruit names which starts with A. So if I say my input equal to A like this, my output should show like these apples as my output, because this apple starts with A, right? Because A is the first character present in apples. So that's why we need to give the output like this. But let's say if I have to get fruits which starts with name called as P, here my output should be two fruits. One is the pears and the second one is pineapples. Now the reason here is because P is the starting character, and that's why we'll be getting these two fruits as part of our output. So this is the program we want to write, like a program to find names which start with specific character. And my input is going to be this, like my input names is going to be this, and then this is my query, which is telling like I want to find all the fruits which starts with certain character, and then my output would be respectively. So we'll create a structure of a program, which is like define then find names, and input would be our names. And so this names is going to be our this list. And then we would need this input also, right? Because we want to provide a character which can be used for the start. So my input can be, let's say, ch is my input. And then I'll put some space for our like logical implementation. And I will have is the names list, which is this. And my input character as, let's say, P. And then I will call the function, which is find names. And I will pass the list as well as my character, which is supposed to be required. So this creates the structure of our program. Now, ideally, if you see how my logic should be, right? Now I have is this list as well as I have like both input as well as my query, right? Now, as we did for like our previous mathematical programs, here also what we'll do is we will go through each and every name present in this. So first one would be I'll pick this apples word, and in this apples word I will try to check if the first character present in this word is it equal to my input character, which is this. And if it is equal, then I will print that word. If it is not, then I will not print. Similarly, I will do for the next name. And here also for the next name, what I will do is I will try to check if my first character of this word, which is O, is it equal to P? If it is not equal to, then I will pass and move forward. But if it is equal, then I will print that corresponding word. So this logic I will keep on doing for each and every word. And based on that, I will print or not print and move forward until my end of the list. So looking at this logic, we know like we have to use this for loop. So here I can use this for, let's say for name in names. So here there's a difference. Names is nothing but your list, but here this name is my user defined variable, which I can give like anything. But if I read this program, it will be more easier to understand, right? For every name in my names. So this name is going to carry all these words at a time. So first time my name variable is going to carry this apples word. So what I need to do is if my
So,
name,
or else take the
Mhm.
different term like X or Y so that it would be no confusion for the students.
Yeah, so then we can take his element or like a
Yeah.
word for word in name. If word, okay, so if word of zero, now why we are taking zero is if we take just a word, then it is going to print this complete word. But what we want is to just pick the initial character, which is the first character. So word of zero is going to give me the first character. But if I say word of one, it is going to give me the second character and so on. So since we want is the first character, I'll do word of zero equal to ch, right? Now my ch is nothing but p and word of zero is nothing but a. Now are they equal? If they are equal or not equal, that will check in runtime. But if they're equal, so what we should do is we should just print that word so that it will print the corresponding word like this. But if it's not equal, then we can just move forward. So we don't even need to do that else loop because we are not performing any kind of operation for else loop. Now let's see if our program is running or not. If I run this, my input was P and this was my names list. So as expected, I'm getting these two words, pears and pineapples. So this is giving me the expected output. So this is how we can compare between two strings and give the output. Now here while comparing, what we did was we utilized only the first character because that was the requirement. Now we'll add little more complexity here. Now if you see my pears and pineapples both are executed because my character was P. Now let's say I just replace this pineapples P with a capital P. Now since this P, which is a capitalized P and this one is small p, let's see it is giving us the output or not because ideally it should give us both of these output, but it will not give us, it will just give us this pairs output. If I run this, you'll see it is just giving us the pairs output. Now why it has excluded this one? Now it has excluded this one is because the small p in Python is considered as a different character versus this capital P. Now this capitalized character and non-capitalized character is always considered different. So that is one of the key difference in strings for Python. And if you want to consider both of these as equal, what we'll have to do is we'll have to use the concept which we learned in our previous programs, similar to like casting operation. We will have to use something like an inbuilt function which can cast our input, initial input to a certain format and this input also to a certain format, so that it's more of like a unified format for us. So that unified format is nothing but I'm talking is like we can use a inbuilt function called as upper. So ch dot upper. So what is this upper function? So upper function is, if I apply ch dot upper, that means this upper function is going to be applied on this ch, which is character p. Now what does this upper is going to do? Upper is going to do is convert your any character, which can be in either uppercase or small case, to your bigger case, like the capitalized format, right? Because here p was small, so what this upper is going to do is it is going to convert to capital P. Same way, for our first character which we are picking up from this words, right, we'll convert that to upper also. So this way, even though my input has a small character or a bigger character in it, it will be always converted to a bigger character while comparing, because this p is going to be capital P. So when it comes here, this small p is going to be converted to capital. So ideally, p's would be in capital format like this when it is doing the comparison. So first time, let's say we have apples, right? So this A is going to be capital A and this P is going to be capital P. Next time we'll move to oranges. Now here my O would be capital O because of this upper function, and then CH would be capital P because of this upper function. Later on, small p is going to be converted to bigger P for this pairs. And then here, since these two are like in capital S format, it is going to consider both of these words. So let's execute and see how it looks like. Now here we should see both the names, capital P as well as small p. So this way we learned about like one more additional function which is provided by string called as upper. And this upper does is nothing but it converts our small characters to capital characters. Now let's say we can have any kind of names present in it and it will work. So let's say we have like any fruit name which starts with small p and we run it, it will consider that name. So if this small p is capital P, then also it will work.
So at the end, the uppercase, that is the upper function, is playing the vital role over here.
Yeah, correct. So this upper function is playing vital role in helping us to identify fruits which has same name, and that name can be either starting with small character p or a bigger character p. But if we don't use that, then it is going to miss out the names which are like in capitalized P. So that completes the first program of like strings, like using this functions. Now we can add up something more here only, where we need to find out count also. Let's say we have two elements with the same names present in it, pairs comma pairs. And if I execute, I should see three output, which is these three, pairs, pairs, pineapples. Now, one more additional function of string we can use here is something called as count. And let's say I want to count how many times pairs has occurred in this list. So there are two ways. One way is I can write my logic here in this function itself, or I can write a new function like find count, and then I'll get the input like this, and I can call this function find count names and ch. So internally, I'm here using this two functions. Now this function second is going to be called second time. So what I need to do is I need to count how many times pair has occurred, right? So, okay, so my input here would be, or I can just pass this input here as it is. And what I'll do is print names, which is my list, dot count. Now, what is this count need is? Count need is something input. So my input is ch. Now, what the ch holds is this letter, like a word called as pairs. So internally, it is looking like pairs inside my bracket of count. So this count function needs is this input pairs. And what is going to happen is it is going to find out the count of this word occurring in my numbers. So that's why we had is dot nums. So in my nums list, it is going to find the count of pairs, and ideally it should be 2. So that's what my output is going to be if I run it. So if I run it, I'm going to see 2. So these three initial ones are because of the first function call, this one. And that output was coming because of first function. And the second function call is calling this function where it is giving me the count. So that's why we have is like a big output, including output of both the functions. So here we learned one more thing called as count function, which is provided by string. And that count function does is it tries to count that given input string in that input list, how many times it has occurred. So this count is specifically for strings only. So if you see here, now this count is playing vital role, and in our first function, upper is playing a vital role. Now this program is something like different in addition to this one. So here the program can be programmed to find names which start with specific character and also find count of given word. So this way we have like two programs included in this same code where we have like two functions. And why I did two functions was to let you know that we can write multiple functions n number of times however we want. It's not like a mandatory thing that every program will have just a single function at a time. We can write n number of functions and we can call it n number of times like this. So that your every code can have n number of functions and you can call it anytime. So that is the flexibility which Python provides while doing the programming. And then the next thing was regarding the functions which are being provided by Python to work on the strings. So until now, we have just looked into two functions, but there is a list of functions which Python provides to work on strings. So I'll just remove this program from here and I'll save it here in my notes. And then I'll start going into one and one function again, because now we know how to call a function. Now the function means like calling that inbuilt function which is provided by the strings. So the new topic what we'll be covering is string functions provided by Python. So one of the function what we learned was called as upper. So let's say my input like word is apples. This was my input word. And if I want to convert it to upper, how I can do is word dot upper. And if I run it, I should see all the word in upper cases. So this thing is missing apples. So this is how this upper function is going to work. So now why I'm doing this is just to showcase how these functions are working. Now I can do is the second one, which was count, right? Now here word dot count. Now this one is just a word and not a list. So we can just provide this apples in it and it will give us the count, which is one, because apples is present once in this input word as apple. But if I provide only a single character called as P, you will see output should be 2 because P is appearing twice in this apples. So this is how flexible Python is. Like it doesn't need it to be strictly a string as your input. It can be either list or a dictionary or a set or tuple. Anything can be here on the left hand side. And then if you call dot count and give that input string or a character, it is going to give you output accordingly. So here my output is 2. Now, in addition to these two functions, there are more functions. So one of the function is called as word dot is alpha. If you see this is alpha. So what is this is alpha? So is alpha is nothing but it's going to tell us if your string contains all alphabets in it. And if it has all alphabets, then it is going to give me output either as like true or false. Let's run and see. So it is telling true because my word contains all alphabets. But if I just have like any one number present in it, right, like 1, and now if I run it, it is going to tell me false because this is alpha function checks for if all my characters in my string are alphabets or not. Now here, since 1 is number, it is telling us false because it doesn't contains alphabets, it contains alphabets as well as numbers. So to counter this, we have one more function called as alphanumeric. Now this alphanumeric will tell this word is containing alphabets as well as numbers in it. And this alphabet was telling it has only alphabets. Now let's say I'll say word dot is ALNUM. So this alphanumeric is going to give us true because this is an alphanumeric character or a word because it contains alphabets as well as numbers. So if I run it, I should see true because it is an alphabet plus numbers. But if I remove this, then also it is going to show me true because it is alphanumeric contains alphabets and numbers as well as if I just have number, then also it is going to show me true because alphanumeric is nothing but either it should have numbers or it should have alphabets or it can be combined also. So it is always going to give me true. Next function which is provided by Python is called as digit function. Word dot is digit. Now what is this digit function? Now digit function is going to tell us if your string contains digit or not, right? Now this one contains only characters. Now let's see what is my output. My output is telling false because my word doesn't contains digits in it. And if I add a digit in it, then also my output is false because not all the characters inside it are digits. But if I just provide purely digits present in it, and if I run it, my output for this edge digit should be true. So this is what the function is. Now what this function is telling us, if for any given string, if it contains digits in it, then it is going to give me true. But if there is any one single character present in it, like this, like let's say A, then it is going to give me false. So this digit is going to help us identify if a string is a number or not a number. And these above two are going to tell us if that string is a actual string or is it like an alphanumeric number, like a string including numbers? Now, in addition to these two functions, like these couple of functions, we can have is a function called as title. So print word dot title. Now, what is this title thing? Title is basically going to give us output. Let's change this so that it's easier to understand. If I run this, you'll see what this title operation does is whenever I have a word like this, it is going to convert your first character of that word, which is this A, to uppercase. So that is why if you see here, title is going to take input as a string and it is going to convert only the first character to upper character. So that's why if I have any other capital, right, like capital A, P, P, L, E, S, then here it is already capitalized the first word. So this title is going to be neutral, like it's not going to work. But if you have small name, then it is going to convert our name of apples, the first character, to an upper one, which is capital A. Now, why do we need this title function, right? Like, so you can imagine an example like you have college, and in the college you have like thousands of students. So all these thousands of students would have given the names like either starting with a small character or upper character, right? Like let's say we have like Tom, which is small t, but there might be another Tom who is giving his name on the form as like small t-o-m. So we need to write a single function, right, which can convert it to a certain format like this, like your first character of name should be capitalized. So we can utilize this title function, which will convert every student's name's first character to capitalize like this. So this way, these functions are like very handy for working on any kind of strings which are provided. Now, other than this title, what we have is a function called as starts with. So let's say I have like word dot starts with. Now, as the name indicates, it's telling like, does your word starts with a specific character, like let's say A. If my word is starting with character A, then I should get a true. So that is what it is telling. But if I say like, is my word starting with X, then it is going to say false because my word is not going to start with X, it's starting with A. So that's what this will also help us understand, like if all my names are starting with X or any other character. Now, if you see this function in a previous program, like the first program which we did, like trying to find out all the fruits which starts with a certain character, we can directly utilize this function over there, and we don't even need to write for loop or like the if loop which we wrote over there. We can directly write this word dot start with X, which will directly tell us the output. Similar to start with, we have another function called as ends with. So as the name suggests, again ends with is going to tell us if the word ends with, let's say, S, because apples is ending with S. So this function is going to tell us if the word is going to end with S. So if I run it, it's telling true because my apples is ending with character S. But if I say, is it ending with X? Then it is going to tell me false. So using this Boolean condition true and false, then we can perform the subsequent operation which we want. So these are like some of the major inbuilt string provided functions which have been like provided by Python, but there are like many more which are like rarely used, but it depends on like example to example, like how we want to use it. So just in order to understand like what are the all inbuilt functions which are provided by Python, we can directly utilize here and see what are the functions for it. So word dot, if I just do dot, it is going to give me a drop down, and all these functions which are provided are going to tell us all the functions which are provided by Python for us to use. And out of this, if you see, almost 90% of the functions are being used by us, like strip function, then title, upper, find, identifier, digit, decimal, ASCII, alpha, and all. The functions which I have used are almost widely used, but other than these functions, they're very rarely used because there is no use case for us which can use that function, like translate or z fill, like these kind of geometrical functions we don't need to use it, but these are like very vastly and widely used. So we can take few more example, like print decimal, like word dot is decimal. So what is this decimal going to help us is, let's see, if I run this, it's stuck here now because okay, so it is telling false because this input word is not a number, right? It is a character string. So since it is not a number, it is always going to tell us false. But if I say, like, let's say I have a number one, and if I execute, then let's see, it is going to tell me, yeah, it is true because it is a decimal number. Because one is considered like 1.0, like that. But if you have like any character present in it, like 1A, then it is going to tell me false because it is not a decimal number, but it is alphanumeric number. So this is one of the function which is provided by Python. So in addition to this, we have another function called as word dot find function. Now find function is going to give you is like, let's say I have is this apples, and in my find, if I say I want to find A from my without doing this, right? This should be in quotes. So what I'm saying is in my word find A, like is A present in this apples? So it is going to tell me zeroth location. Now this zero is nothing but the index of this character A. Now let's say if I say S, it is going to give me the index of the found character which is S. So index is 5 because 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So S is present at fifth index. So this function is going to give us the index or like the position at which it is present. Now instead of S, let's say if I put X, because X is not present in here. So what should be my output in this case? So my output should be -1. So whenever your given character is not found in your input, then it is going to tell me it is not found. And that not found is nothing but -1 index. So this completes all the major functions in the strings which are provided by Python. Let me save here. So I hope there is no doubt. What we can do is I'll give you a program for your upcoming assignment, and you can do it for your next lecture. So it's basically like a very simple program. Like you need to write a program to make a calculator. Now this calculator,
Guys, One important thing, like sir has now explained the all the inbuilt functions, just read the all the theoretical concepts properly, because that would be going to be asked in the exams. Okay, so such sort of a questions will be also going to come in the exams, not only the programs. All right. Yes, sir, you can give the assignment.
Yeah. So basically, you need to write a program to make a calculator. Now, this calculator functionality should be as easy as it is. Like it should perform like four operations, either plus, which is like addition of numbers, then subtraction, then multiplication, and then division. And you should have two inputs. My input A should be number one, and then my input B should be number two. So let's say I have like number one, which is 10, and number two as 20. And then I will ask the operator also, operator which is required. And that operator can be either plus or minus or anything. So this is our example. So my input should be this, that I'll ask three inputs, first number, second number, and an operator. And then based on this operator, I should perform the output. Now my output should be, output here should be 10 plus 20 is 30. So this should be my calculator do. Like it should take these three inputs, number one, number two, and the operator, and then it should perform the necessary operation. Like since it is plus, it is going to do the addition. Same way, we can have one more example. Let's say I have number one, number two is 10. And if I say subtraction, then my output should be 0. So you basically need to write a program which can work for only these four operators and give me the output. So looking at this, if you'll see like we have covered whatever topics we have like covered until now should help you do this program. Um, I think so. This homework problem should be clear and not like difficult. It's like as straightforward as it is.
Yes, sir. So, students solve their assignments and you can submit to me. Okay. So, Tanshu, send me the previous one also.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay. So,
So
thank
this
you so much,
completes
sir.
our today's session. Yeah, thank you everyone. We'll see you next session.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.